Good afternoon, students. Today we will discuss about the lab program 4. The statement of the lab program is design, develop and implement YAC or C program to demonstrate the shift reduce parsing technique for the grammar rules, that is E tends to E plus T or T, and E tends to T star F or F, and F tends to E or ID, and the parse the sentence ID plus ID star ID. Okay, so this is the problem given. So we need to develop a shift reduce parsing techniques for the given grammar, and after that we need to parse the sentence, given sentence ID plus ID star ID. Okay, the first thing is we need to know what do you mean by parsing technique. Then after that we will move on to program. Okay, so here this parsing, the shift reduce parsing. So here the shift reduce parsing, so here when you are dividing the parser, so we have, there are two important types of parsers. One is top down parser, another one is bottom up parser. Okay, so this is the this parsing technique is the second phase of the compiler. We already know all those things. Okay, so here in this bottom up parser we have a one now thing, we will call it as a shift reduce parser. Okay, so here this shift reduce parser is the one type of bottom up parser. Bottom up parser is one type of parser. Okay, so here then we will move on to what, first we will know about what we mean by bottom up parser, then after that we will move on to shift reduce parser. Okay, so after that we will have an LR parser is there. Okay, so we are concentrating only on shift reduce parser. What do you mean by bottom up parser? This bottom-up parser which builds the parse tree from leaves to root. Okay, so in top-down parser, what we are doing? So we are building the parse tree from start symbol, from root to leaves. Okay, so here in bottom-up parser, we are builds the parse tree from bottom to top. That's why we will call it as a bottom-up parser. So here in this, it uses the rightmost derivation in reverse order. Okay, so we already know that rightmost derivation, leftmost derivation, rightmost derivation. In that, it is using rightmost derivation in the reverse order. We will take an example. What do you mean by rightmost derivation? For example, suppose if you consider this example, grammar, same grammar, E tends to E plus E tends to E star E, or E tends to E and E tends to ID. Okay, so for the give same string ID plus ID star ID. So to get this ID, so we need to construct we need to make a right derivation. Okay, rightmost derivation. How will make a rightmost derivation? So here, so first we will take E tends to E plus E. Okay, so here I want to string ID plus ID star ID. Okay, I want that one, ID plus ID star ID. I want that one. Okay, so here what we are doing, so first I will take E tends to E plus E. Okay, so I will take E tends to E plus E. Okay, so first I am taking E tends to E plus E. Okay, so this one this productions I have taken. Then after that, this I need ID plus ID star ID. So this ID I need to derive. Okay, so here what I am taking, I am expanding this E with E star E. I am expanding this E with E star E. Okay, so then after that I am replacing rightmost E. Okay, so I am replacing this E with ID. Okay, rightmost. So then after that I am replacing this E with ID. Okay, and finally I am removing this ID with this E with ID. So that is, so rightmost non-terminal symbols I am replacing here. Okay, so this is the rightmost, that one will be replaced with E star E, and this E will be replaced with ID, and this after this the E will, rightmost E will be replaced with ID, and next rightmost E will be replaced with ID. This one you will call it as rightmost derivation. When you go in reverse order, then that one will call it as a bottom up parser. Okay, the rightmost derivation in the reverse order, we will call it as a bottom up parser. Same derivation whatever I have taken. So if I take this one from leaves to start symbol. Okay, so that is, so this ID is replaced with non-terminal E, then this ID will be replaced with this E, and this ID will be replaced with this E, and this E will be replaced with this E, and finally this E star E will be replaced with E, and E plus E will be replaced with E. That is, ID is replaced with E, this E, and this ID will be replaced with this E, Okay, and this id will be replaced with this e, and e star e will be replaced with this e, and e plus e will be replaced with this e. Okay, so this one we will call it as a rightmost derivation in reverse order. That one we will call it as a bottom up parser. When you come to this e to this id plus id star id, so then we will call it as a top down. So when you go in reverse order, then that one we will call it as a bottom up parser. Okay, so this is a how we will get a bottom up parser. Okay, so in this shift reduce parser, it is an one type of bottom up parser. Okay, so this shift reduce is a one type of bottom up parser. So here this shift reduce parsing is a process of reducing a string to the start symbol. Okay, so it is process of reducing a string to the start symbol. That is id plus id star id will be reaching to start symbol e. So that one we will call it as a shift reduce parsing. So this shift reduce parsing uses a stack to hold the grammar and an input to tape hold the string. Okay, it uses a stack, okay, to hold the grammar and an input tape to hold the string. Okay, so here shift reduce parser, it will use stack. How it will use, we will discuss that one. Okay, so it has shift reduce parsing, it has 4 actions. Okay, so one is shift, another one is reduce, okay, and accept and error. These two, shift and reduce, are both are important. Okay, so these two are very important. Then accept and error, when the string is accepted, at that time when you get an error, at that time this when you get an error, it will display an appropriate error message. Okay, it has shift reduce actions. It has shift reduce actions. That's why we will call it as a shift reduce parsing. Again, what do you mean by shift and what do you mean by reduce? Okay, so here what happens at the shift action, the current symbol in the input string is pushed to the stack. Okay, so shifting means pushing into the stack. The current input symbol, whatever the input symbol is there, that one will push into stack. That one will call it as a shift. Then reduction means the symbols will be replaced by non-terminal. Okay, it will. So when the symbols will be replaced with the non-terminal, at that time we will call it as a reduction phase. That is, the symbol is the right side of the production. Okay, symbol is nothing but a right side of the productions. Suppose if we have, okay, suppose here we have e tends to, okay, if we have e tends to e plus e. Okay, so here suppose, okay, so if we have a that is the symbol is the right side of the production and non-terminal is the left side of the production. Okay, so here this is r, it may be plus e or a small e, whatever it may be. Okay, so okay, so these things are nothing but a right side production. Okay, so this is nothing but a left side. So here that is the symbols is the right side of the production and non-terminal is the left side of the productions. We will be replaced with. Okay, so we will be replaced with the symbols of in the right side of the productions with non-terminal in the left side of the production. And here accept. Okay, so here that is a parser announced the successful completion of the parsing. Okay, so once the string is accepted, it will be successful completion of the parsing. And error, the parse has discovered an error at that time in the input, it will takes a error correction action with the help of error handler. Okay, so here we need to concentrate on the shift action and reduce action. Okay, we will take a reduce parsing table. So here we have 3 columns. One is stack, another one is input symbol, and what actions we have taken. So the input symbol is will be the id star id plus id, and it will be end with $, and initially stack content will be the $. Okay, so here first thing is what we are doing. So we are first action will be we are shifting first input symbol, that is id, to stack. Okay, so that is shift id. So then after that what we are doing, so we are this id will be replaced with this with e. So that is we have a grammar e tends to id, so this id will be replaced with e. So we have done this one. Okay, so then after that this id will be replaced with e. So after that what we are doing, so next input string will be the a star. Okay, so that star will be, so this star, so next input string will be this star. Okay, so this star will be shifted to stack. Okay, so that is shift star. We have shifted that star to stack. Okay, so now after that we will have next input symbol is id. Okay, so this one we are doing, we are shifting that one to stack. Okay, so that is shift id. Okay, so now this id stack contains id, so this will be replaced with e. Okay, so that one we are doing here, reduce e tends to id. So we are replacing this id with e. Okay, so then after that what we are doing, here we have e star e. So for that e star e, here we have productions e tends to e star e. So using this reduce by e tends to e star e, so that is e star e will be replaced with e. Okay, so next we have the input symbol will be plus. That plus will be shifted to stack. That one we are doing here, shift plus. Okay, so then after that what we are doing, so this id is there, so this id will be shifted to stack. Okay, so here for that we will have e tends to id is there. Okay, so here we have e tends to id is there, so that one will be replaced with e. Yeah, that id will be replaced with e. Okay, so that one we are doing here. Okay, so that is e tends to id will be replaced with e. So that is e tends to reduced by e tends to id. So then after that here we have e plus e is there. Okay, so this e plus e will be replaced. Here we have a production e tends to e plus e. That e plus e will be replaced with e. So that one will be e tends to e plus e. Then finally we will have e only. So then this input string will be accept. So this is the shift reduce parsing. Okay, see here the first thing is, so here this is this, we are writing C programming for this shift reduce parsing. Okay, so here stdio.string.h, okay, preprocessor directory. After that we are initializing variables, then after that we are using an array. Okay, character array, sorry, characters of these are the variables. This is for a stack and this is for input string. Okay, so for all those things we are using character array. Okay, then after that void check. So this is one functions we are using. So here the first thing is what we are doing. So we are displaying the stack. We are displaying the productions e tends to e plus e. So these productions they have given e tends to e star e and e tends to e and e tends to id. So these are the productions so we have. So we are representing that one. Then enter the input string. Okay, so input string it will be that input string whatever that id plus id star id. Okay, so that one we are entering that one. Okay, so then after that we are taking the string length. Okay, so after string length we are copying the shift. So to print this one in stack, the action will be print. For that we are using shift tends to. Okay, so shifting to stack, that one. For that we are copying string will be copied to act variable. So then after that we are displaying that stack and input and action. Okay, stack input and action. So stack input action, the table what we are discussing now, to represent that one we are having stack input and action. These are the three columns we want, that's why we are printing. Okay, so then after that, so here first thing is we need to scan the input symbol. Okay, so that is input is id plus id star id alva. Okay, id star id plus id. Okay, so that is the input string what we have. So first we need to check. So here we are using, so this a is nothing but a, okay, so this a is nothing but a input string. So if input, that is j is equal to 0, so if input string is equal to 0, okay, so if input string is equal to I, okay, so if a of 0, that is 0th that is id, so I, that input string is a of 0 will be I and d, so that is the input string now. Okay, so input string is, okay, so input string will be id. Okay, so id plus id star idl. Okay, so this is the input string. Okay, so this input string, this the first is a of 0 will be this I, and a of 1 will be this D. So this one we are taking. If input string is ID, that is if first symbol is ID, so then what we need to do, we need to push that one to stack. So that one we are pushing to stack. That is I will push to stack, and D will be pushed to stack. Okay, so that one, if the first thing is id, then we are pushing to stack. Then after that we are after stack of 0, stack of 1, we are putting id. Then after that we are stack of 2 will be null, we are putting null. Then after that a of 0 and a of j and a of j plus 1. So this in this a of 0 and a of 1 we are putting null. Okay, so then after that we are printing that dollar. Okay, so that this stack content dollar, and this is the first symbol with, okay, so that is id star. Okay, that is stack and input symbol and this shift. Okay, so these things we are putting. It means this is nothing but a pushing first. If it is id is there, we are pushing that one to stack. Else if it is not id, so then what we have, it may be a plus or star. Okay, so if it is not id, then we may have plus or a star. So that one we are pushing into the stack. Okay, if it is not id, it may be a plus or it may be star in the input string, because we are taking this input string. So those things we are pushing into stack. Same thing, a of 0, that is the stack of I is equal to a of j. Okay, so we are pushing that one to, that is stack of 0 is equal to a of 0. Then after that we are putting null values. Then after that we are printing those things, content of stack and input symbol and what action we have taken. Those things we have, that is shifting to stack. Action is nothing but a shifting to stack. Stack content will be the dollar and particular symbol. Then after that, after the whatever we content input symbol. So these two for this for loop is used for shifting the input string to stack. Okay, so here after, see here, after inputting, then we are calling the check function. Okay, check is nothing but a reduce. Okay, so here we need to check that in check the stack. Once you enter the stack, so we need to do check. Okay, once we enter the stack, we need to do check. Okay, so I have entered id, then go for check. That is reduce section, reduce. And once you enter plus or a star, go to reduce. Okay, so these things. Then after that, so when you come to check, okay, so here three things we here we have. One is, suppose reduce to he. So the first case is, okay, suppose first case is if it is id. Okay, the first case is this stack content is id. So if it is id, what we can do, we will replace this id with e, because we have a production e tends to id. Okay, so in this stack, when we have id, you should replace with e. Okay, so that one we are doing here. So if stack content is I, and that is a stack of 0 is I and stack of 1 is D. Okay, if these two are ID, then what I am doing, I am replacing this ID with E. So that one I am doing. So when these two things are ID, so then I am replacing that stack of that will be, that is stack of 0 will be E. Okay, so then next will be null. Then I am printing that one. What actions? That is the content of stack and input string and what actions I have taken. That is reduce. Okay, so then increment j. That is when e tends to id. So next, suppose if we have e plus e, the suppose stack content is e plus e. What I need to do? I need to replace with e. Yes or no? Okay, I need to replace with e. That one I am doing here. When the stack content is e plus e. Okay, stack of 0 e and stack of 1 is plus and stack of 2 is e. That is e plus e. When I have e plus e, what I need to do? I need to replace with e. That one I am doing here. So when e plus e is there, then I am replacing that e with e. That one I am doing here to stack of 0. So then after that next one will be 1 and 2 will be putting null. Okay, So then I am printing that one, the content of stack and input string and reduce, that is action. AC is nothing but an action, and after that you are reducing the line. You know that I is equal to I minus 2. Okay, so these two things are option. Next production will be when the stack is E star E. So when you have a production E star E. When you have a production E star E, what can I do? What can I do? Okay, so when I have a production E star E, okay, so when I have a production E star E, so this E star E will be replaced with E. Okay, so I am checking that one. That is, if stack content is E and star and E, E star E. When the stack content, stack of 0 is E, stack of 1 is star, and stack of 2 is equal to another E. If E star E, what I need to do, I am replacing that with E. So I am replacing that content with E. Okay, then after that I am putting null values. Then after that I am printing stack content A and what action I have taken, that is reduce. Okay, so then last one is when I have this is one productions we have now, E tends to E. Okay, when I have productions E tends to E. Okay, so when I have this productions, that is open parenthesis and closing parenthesis, when I have productions open parenthesis E and closing parenthesis. At that time also what I need to I need to replace E with E, that opening and removing opening and closing bracket, and I need to put E. So that one I am replacing that one here. That is when the input stack content E and E and E, so then I will replace with E. Open parenthesis, close parenthesis within that E. So then I will replace that stack content with E, and after that the next location will be put with null values. Then after that you are printing that one, that is content of stack, that is percentage dollar percentage as, then after that input string, that string with the dollar, then add action taken. Okay, that is reduce. Okay, so these things, this is the program. Okay, so here in that program a push operation. Okay, so that is a shift. So shift is nothing but here, so we are shifting that one to id plus id star id. So we are, if I and d is there, then push that one to stack. Else if it is star or a plus, that one also push to stack. So after pushing, call the reduce function, that is nothing but a check. Okay, so here in reduce what we have, so here we have, when you have a id, so then we need to replace this id with e. So that one we are doing that one. When we have e plus e, that one will be reduced with e. So that one we are doing. We are checking that one's content of stack and we are replacing with e. Like that, when you have e star e, replace with e star e with e. That one we are doing. When you have e star, when e tends to e with open and closing parenthesis, that one will be replaced with e. That one we are doing here. Okay, so now this is the program part, theoretical part, program part. Then we will come to execution part. Okay, so I am using online compiler. Okay, so here same program I have written here. Okay, same program. Okay, so here same program I am written here. Okay, so when I execute that one, 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 I will get this one. Okay, so here that grammar is displayed here. E tends to e plus e, then e tends to e star e, and e tends to e, and e tends to id. Okay, so when I execute this one, so here that input string will be id plus id id. Okay, so here this is the input string what I am giving. So then when I enter this one, see here, this whatever I have discussed now, that is stack input and action. So here it will be id plus id star id dollar then same thing whatever I have discussed now. So here first thing is id, this id will be shifted to stack. Okay, so then after that what we have done, so we are reducing that one id with e, so we are reducing that id with e. Okay, so that one we had, then after that what we have, this plus will be shifted to, okay, so plus will be shifted to stack, so that one shift we have done, then after that id will be shifted to stack. Okay, so then after that what we are doing, this id will be replaced with e, that is reduce e. So then after that this e plus e will be reduced to e. Okay, so e plus b will be reduced to e. So then after that, then here the after that what we have, then here we have another id is there, so this star is there. Okay, the star should be shifted to here. So then after that, okay, so after shifting star, then after that id will be shifted to stack. So then we are replace this id with e. Okay, so that is replace with the id with e, then after that, okay, so this e star e will be replaced with e. Okay, this e star e will be replaced with e. Okay, so this is the output, the that string is accepted.